Hello and welcome. It is an absolute pleasure to have each and every one of you here with me on this incredible special edition masterclass paying tribute to Bob Proctor, the #1 master teacher of how to create a life of what you truly want. Bob Proctor was a legend and he has left such a legacy for people like you and me to really start to pave a path of achievement in our life. Now, my name is Kim Calvert and it is an absolute honor to have you here on this masterclass with us, because tonight what I'm going to be sharing with you are some of the greatest lessons and shifts that I was able to make in my life learning from Bob Proctor, who was my mentor for 7 years. I am so grateful. I am so privileged to have spent 7 years working side by side with Bob Proctor in a very intimate way, in a very intimate setting, and really in a close proximity that many people in the world have never been able to have. And I'm so grateful for that. So that is why you are here. If you are someone who is looking to make a shift in your life, create more freedom, whether that's with money, relationships, health, wealth, or you just want to find a better and easier way so that you're waking up every day filled with energy, enthusiasm, and are fulfilled at the end of the day, then you've come to the right place. Now, many of you may not know me, you may not even heard of Bob Proctor, but I'm going to guess that we've got quite a lot of fans in the house of Bob Proctor. And I hope that that is you. You can let me know here live in the chat box. Where are you coming from first and foremost? Where all over the world? Because I know that we have had thousands of people register for this very exclusive masterclass. And I want to know where you're coming from. Now, as we go through this masterclass, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. Normally, I'm sitting here really teaching you. I get my whiteboard out and I start to really break down the science of success. Tonight is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to share stories. I want you to clear your mind, shut off all distractions, and just let you and me sit here together. And I want to really talk to you. I want to really just talk to the real you, instead of maybe you just having distractions around you or listening in the car or wherever. I can honestly say some of the stories and some of the lessons that I'm going to share with you as we go across this masterclass, I think you're going to resonate. And I think you're going to resonate because I do not believe that you and I are very different. I think, we might look different, we might live in a different place, we might have different goals, we might be in a different type of business or line of work, but fundamentally, when we really get down to it all, really, we are all the same. And this is why I really resonated with Bob Proctor. Because, yes, a lot of people seen Bob as, and I said it in the video before this, as this master teacher, as the #1 prosperity teacher in the world. There is no doubt that Bob was the leader in the space of personal development. However, he was a man, and I am a woman, and you're either a man or a woman, and fundamentally we're all the same. We all want more in life. We all have a mind. We all are moving in the direction of something. And why I really resonated with Bob was because he was not a motivational speaker. You might be here tonight thinking, okay, I want to get motivated to achieve my goals and I want to get really geared up to go and take action. And that is great. And I love that enthusiasm. But when I first started out, and I will give you a little bit of a backstory so that we can connect and so that you can start to see. Because one of the greatest things that Bob did was he spoke the truth about you. He spoke the truth about me. And that's why I really resonated with his message, because there are so many people out in the world right now teaching, writing books, and a lot of it is motivational. It's all, come on, let's go, and it's all very rah-rah, as I would call it. And ultimately, motivation is not what you want to be seeking. Motivation is short-lived. You've probably found that where at the start of a year, you're all gung-ho to go and achieve your goals, but later and sooner you start to slow down and go back into your normal pace. And this is why I really connected with Bob, because what he was teaching was so different. In fact, nobody in the world taught what Bob taught, and because he got to the root cause of results. He got to the root cause of who you are, where you are, and showed you how to get to where you really wanted to go. And that's what I really want to do here in this masterclass with you. This is an open conversation. This is going to be storytelling, and that was another great thing that Bob always did. He really captivated an audience because he didn't have the fluff, the bells, the whistles, the rah-rah. He just spoke the truth. And I think that is what people want more than anything in this day and age that we're in, is for real people to share how they're getting real results. And that's what I am. And that's what I really hope that you pick up as we go across this. So the first thing I want you to do is to shut off all distractions. I want you to really set aside any things that are in your room right now. Shut off the TV, shut off the computer, close down all the other tabs that you have, put in earphones if you can, because this is going to be, I think, a really pivotal moment in your life where you're going to start to realize that there is something more about you than what meets the eye and what maybe meets the eye of other people. And this is where I'm saying to you, I want to speak to your heart. I want to speak to your soul, because we all have one. And too often we're so busy in life, there's so many distractions that we never really go to that quiet place within and really ask ourselves some really good questions. And again, that was something Bob always did. He always asked great questions. And of course, the most famous question was, what do you want? What do you really want out of life? So I want you to take off all the hats. You're not mom, you're not dad, you're not a businessman, you're not a nurse, you're not any of these things. You're not even your name. I want you to take all of these hats off, because what we're going to really get into is, who are you? Because if you're not your name, and you're not mom, and you're not dad, and you're not a nurse, and you're not a policeman, and you're not a businessman, and you're not working in an office, you know, all these titles that we have, student, whatever it may be, when you take all of those titles and hats off, you got to ask yourself, who are you? Who are you? And it's a question, and it's a pretty deep question right out the gate. The reason that I ask that question is because the purpose of tonight's masterclass, in paying tribute to Bob Proctor, I want to share my story. I want to share my 7 greatest lessons that I received by working side by side with Bob, in person, in his home, in his office, on a jet, flying around the world, on his speaking events. I was there, I was present, and I have seen and heard and learned firsthand and had experiences that, quite frankly, nobody else in the world has had. That's why I'm so grateful. But in paying tribute to Bob, he's passed on to his next phase of life 3 years now. And to pay the greatest tribute to him is to live on the legacy. And that legacy is not the Bob Proctor name or all those lovely things. It's to really help you move in the direction of your goals. I think that's the greatest way. I think Bob, that's all that he's ever wanted, is to waken people up one thought at a time. And that, of course, is my mission here on this planet. Now, some of you may not have heard of me, and that's okay. Most of you will have, and I thank you for being here. And I suppose I want to tell you a story just before we get into these 7 greatest lessons. Now, I'm going to break these lessons down. I'm going to share stories. I'm going to share experiences. I'm going to share with you how on earth someone like me from a little tiny town in Lurgan in Northern Ireland, which is a very small country in itself, could end up moving from a place of being totally lost, totally broke, £4.20 in my pocket, working as a nurse, feeling unfilled, failing in relationships, having no goals, to now living a life of total freedom. To being able to waking up every day, love who I am from a place of humbleness, not ego, to knowing where I'm going, having the energy, the ideas, having love in my life, having now built a business and an empire that works all over the world We work with thousands and thousands of people in many countries, helping them really start to shift their mindset, really start to understand how to achieve goals, how to get the most out of life, and how to create their version of freedom. See, the truth is, what you want, different things to what I want. But when it really comes down to it all, what we all want is freedom. We all want to have love. We all want to live life how we really want to live it. Have more time with our friends, our family, our kids. We want to travel. We want more financial freedom. And that was no different to where I was. So to set the scene, I want to share a little bit of who I was and where I was before I met my mentor. And many of you will know this story, so I'm going to give you it in a shortened format. But I was 28 years old, okay? And I know sometimes when you can look at me, you think, well, you can't be much older than that. Maybe I'm past that now, I don't know. But I was 28 years old, and I was a nurse. Now, to even go past that, I was brought up in the most beautiful, loving, wonderful home. I do not have a big, long, dramatic story to tell you, but I have a story, and I believe everyone does. I think everyone's story is absolutely important for what they're about to do in their life. I think everything happens for a reason. And I was brought up in this wonderful home with great parents. However, I was taught some things that I would probably say you've been taught that stuck with me. And some of those things were, you got to be really smart to do well in life. You need to study and get a good education, because then you're going to get a good job, and then you pay into a pension, you pay your taxes, and then you're landed. I was also taught things like, don't talk about money that often. Don't strive for too much. Just be kind of grateful for what you have. And all of these things are relevant, and there's some truth in them. But at the same time, they really led me down a path that I kept myself small. I didn't understand money. I was not taught about money in school. I don't believe that you were taught about money in school. Did you go to a class that taught you to earn money? No, you were in a class that taught you how to count money. But that's pretty useless if you don't have any to count. And I really feel that all of us, in the world that we're living in right now, we have all been taught to go to school, get a good education, be really smart, get a good job, and you'll be okay. Really, I think what school has been teaching us is to be great employees, right? And for some, that might be wonderful. And I'm not anti-school. I'm not sitting here saying, take your kids out of school. I'm saying there's a lot more. And I went to school. I was not smart. I didn't enjoy school whatsoever. I was the kid that loved playtime, home time, PE, and making things with my hands, right? I'm dyslexic. I'm absolutely hopeless at kind of getting my spellings right. Even though I was taught all of these things over and over, it never clicked. And when it came to math, no. As long as I scraped a C and got past, I was happy. So school for me, whilst I didn't get bullied or anything like that, it was a difficult time. And there was a certain amount of fear within me that, okay, well, you've got to be smart if I'm going to be successful, because that was kind of the train of thought. And I wasn't smart. And I always thought I wasn't good enough. Now, going through school like that, it sets you up for future, because you think, well, I'm just going to have to get a job and so on. Now, I did not know what I wanted to do with my life. I would say probably you at those early ages in your teenage years, you did not know what you wanted to do. And nobody really ever talked about goals. You were always asked as a kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the question I probably have to you is, what did you say when you were asked that as a child? What do you want to do when you grow up? And are you doing it? Are you doing what you always dreamt of when you were a kid? And I'd probably say most of you are not. And this is what happened to me. Now, I seen everybody go off to university. Now, university to me was probably the worst thought possible because number one, you actually choose to go to it. You don't have to, right? I couldn't wait to get out of secondary school because then you don't have to go to school anymore. But I seen everybody going off to university. And I was in a place in my teenage years, I was feeling very isolated, very alone. I was a very unhappy teenager. I didn't even really know why. Yes, I went through certain things in my teen years that definitely implemented or made me feel unworthy, but I thought, I've got to go to university. I've got to go and escape, right? So I went to university and I decided to be a nurse. And I picked nursing because I loved working with people and I wanted to help. Those were the key things that I definitely knew when I was younger. I went off to university, same thing, different place. Didn't like the coursework, didn't want to turn up to class, but when I got into the wards and I was hands-on, I was great. So I didn't get on very well with my teachers, and to be honest, even at GCSE and business studies and at university, all of my teachers told me, Kim, never start a business because you're going to be a disaster. My university teachers told me you will never get past a band 5 in nursing. And I heard all of these things, and I think a lot of us hear these things when we're kids and it makes an impression and you start to believe it. Now, I got my job at nursing, and yes, I found myself in a position where I was turning up every day, but I wasn't really there. Do you ever feel like that? Where you're turning up, you're getting up every day, but you're not really present? And this was my life. Now, I did actually grow through the levels of nursing. I went to a band 6, I went to a band 7, and I became a clinical nurse specialist. And I specialized in the field of psychiatry. I spent 10 years working with adolescents and young people in mental health here in Northern Ireland. And that was a phenomenal 10 years. Now, I say phenomenal because I loved working with young people. But I was also, in my actual life, I was very unhappy. And the reason that I was unhappy was because I really had no direction. I had no further growth to obtain because I had already hit the top level in a nursing capacity. And I was broke. And I was starting to think, hold on a minute. I was told, get a good education, get a good government job with a pension, and I'll be successful. And I found myself, I was earning $35,000 a year, in and around £2,000 a month. And by the time I had paid my bills, I wasn't left with very much. Now, I don't know if you can resonate with that, but by looking at the world today, 97% of the population are resonating with that. We have found ourselves in positions where we've done what we've been told, but we have found ourselves stuck. Let me know, type stuck into the chat box if that is where you're at right now, if that's what you feel. Now, I will also say that stuck doesn't always mean the bottom. People who are millionaires and billionaires can get stuck. Stuck can be at any level, but I found myself stuck. And I also found myself in relationships that were not serving me. And I was going through a lot of emotional pain, a lot of physical pain, and I just was not in a good place. So this was at the age of 28. Now, I did not know how to change my results. I just kind of thought, this is how it is. And I kept going into work every day, and I would sit in an office and I would have a window and I would look out this window, and there was just something inside me. As I looked out the window, and I used to watch the birds flying in the trees, and I just used to think, what if? What if there is something more? Because whilst I felt the pain of not enough money, not feeling good about myself, not feeling worthy, not feeling lovable, and I'm telling you now, and I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I will be honest, I really detested myself. I don't use the word hate very often, but I did. I hated myself. And I didn't even really have a good reason. I just thought I was unlovable, that I was unworthy. And this was such a deep-seated belief that I had. And that made me very unhappy. And even though that was an internal thing that was going on, I had a lot of negative thoughts about myself. If anybody gave me a compliment, I was like, inside going, no, you're lying to me. And even though I didn't show this on the outside, honestly, from the outside, I probably looked like I had a pretty good average life. But when I would go to bed at night, when I would close my eyes, I was in a dark, dark place. I was lonely, I was unhappy, I was confused, I was frustrated, and I knew I had to get up and do it all over again tomorrow. And that didn't go down with me. Now, because I didn't love me, because I didn't like me, I started to attract people into my life that did not love me and did not like me. So I also found myself not only unhappy in my career, but I was really unhappy in my relationships. And I found myself in relationships that did not serve me, that were not for my highest self. I used to blame the person or people, because this is what happens. You end one relationship, you get into another relationship, same person, different face. And I was just seeing this repetitive cycle of things just not working out. And of course, the more that you see that, the more you blame yourself. So my own negative talk to myself was deepening and deepening. Now you might be wondering, Kim, why are you telling me this story? Well, I'm telling you to give you a bit of a lay of the land of where I was. Because I can tell you now, the Kim Calvert that sits in front of you here now, who has an 8-figure company, who works with people all over the world, that has incredible clients, getting the most incredible results. I live in my dream home. I have a dream home in the sun. I drive my dream car. I have money. I have love. I have health. That Kim, who I am now, it doesn't make sense that I should have all of this. Like, if you don't understand what I'm about to share with you tonight. And the reason that I tell you my story of who I was and where I was is because I think a lot of people are there. I think a lot of people, whether you admit it or not, are not totally fulfilled in your life. You want more. And as I sat in my nursing office, looking out the window, thinking to myself, there has to be more, I could feel that there was more. Now, I had no understanding of it. It confused me more. But I had a feeling deep in my stomach. And sometimes it would rise up to my throat. In fact, I lost my voice for 8 months. Now I understand why. I was suppressing my potential. I was suppressing what was inside me all along. And when you suppress it, what happened was it impacted on my health. That's how we become unwell. It's when we are suppressing emotions. So I actually lost my voice for 8 months, and it's not a surprise that now I'm a global speaker, because that's what I was always supposed to do. The problem was I didn't know any of this. So I just thought things were getting worse and worse and worse. And as I stared out the window and as I felt this feeling of, I think there's more, I had no awareness or understanding to know what to do or how to do it. And to be honest, anytime I thought about achieving more, the next thought was, well, who are you to achieve more? You should be grateful for what you have. You shouldn't try to be too big for your place. And all these little voices and all these little things that I heard growing up started to flood in. Now I want to know, are you similar? Again, you might be a very successful person, or you might be starting out, or you might be where I was, or you might be worse. I really don't care where you're at, to be quite honest. I work with people who are absolutely down and out, don't have a penny to their name, and I also work with billionaires. So the teaching and the science of success is the same for everyone. I love how Bob used to share, the sun will shine on everyone, the good and the bad. The sun will shine on the rose and on the weed. You see, everything that we teach is about the science of success. And that really was the first biggest lesson that I learned from Bob Proctor. Now, how I came across that. So there I was, knowing there was more, wanting more, feeling guilty for wanting more, but it just kept niggling at me. Now, I did what many people do, and I tried to fix my life from the outside. I thought to myself, well, I don't feel lovable. I don't think I'm good enough. I'm the problem. I'm this awful person. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get myself in a really fit body and state. And then my partner will love me. Then people will notice me. I buried my head in the gym. And I went to the gym. I spent 10 years as an athlete, at the same time as nursing. And I was a competitor. And I went to the gym. I got the six-pack. I looked amazing. And I went and I won competitions. And I won the Northern Irelands. I went to the Worlds. And as I stood on the stage and people are giving me trophies and flowers, and people are clapping, I'm standing on stage looking amazing. And all I can think is, I feel the exact same. Where's this stamp of validation? I thought that if I did this, I would feel better. And if I would do that, these feelings would go away. And they didn't. And that was a big realization that time. Standing on that stage, feeling the exact same. The competition came, the competition went, and I still didn't like me. Until one day, I'm in the gym, running on the treadmill, and I always used to listen to motivational things on YouTube. And then this voice came on. I'd never heard this voice before. And it was Bob Proctor. And what made me notice it so differently was because it wasn't, grind, hustle, go for it. It was a very calm, but very pure voice. What I now know is that it was a vibration. It was an energy that resonated with my soul, my heart, and my whole being. And I nearly fell off the treadmill. And I stopped, and I'll never forget it. I can tell you the treadmill was on. I was in a big grey hoodie. I had my earphones in, and I was like, hold on a minute. And this man, and I used to say it, this old man with grey hair and glasses, this man started to talk about there is a science to success. Now, I've always been a bit of a geek. I've always loved sciencey stuff, probably why I went into nursing as well. And this is, by the way, the first lesson, that there's a science to success. And I stopped and I listened and I went, hold on a minute. He's not shouting. He's not roaring. He is talking from a place of confidence and knowing. It wasn't you could be successful. It was, no, there is a science to this. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. Any country, man, woman, age. You don't have to be smart. You don't have to know people. And I was going, well, wait a minute. This is very different to what I've been being told. I was told you have to be smart. I was told it's the people that you know, the places that you're in. No. Bob Proctor was saying there is a science to success and anyone can learn it and apply it to their life. And then he started to share his story about how he was an absolute nobody. He had no reason to be a successful person. He was born, just around the wartime. He did not have riches or wealth, but he did one significant thing, and that was he got a mentor. He had a friend called Ray, and Ray basically told him there's a science to success. And just like me, Bob listened to this man, did exactly what he told him to do. And Bob started to clean floors. He started his first business. And so on, he started to become very successful. He worked then with Earl Nightingale, who was the first person ever to bring personal development into recorded fashion. And then Bob Proctor brought it to the world. Many of you might have seen him in The Secret and so on. So Bob was just like me. And I would say you're maybe not so different. And I heard these words. And something just in me stopped to listen because it resonated. And it's the more he started to talk, the more I started to listen. And then I became quite obsessed. I was watching all the YouTube clips. The next clip, he's going to tell me the secret in the next clip, and he's going to show me now. And I was looking again for all of the answers outside of myself. I was showing up to all the free masterclasses. I was showing up to buying all the books that anybody ever mentioned. I kept getting all of the information. And then Bob started to say, it's not about getting more information. It's about learning that you already have it all inside and bringing it to the surface. He says that's the reason to have a mentor. A good mentor can see your potential and help you bring it to the surface. So this was all new to me. Now, I was still in nursing at this point, and I knew I was unhappy, and I knew I was broke. And it came to one day that I was in the famous pet shop. And I had 2 little dogs at the time, and Roxy and Rex, and I was out getting them some dog food. And my dogs are my everything. I only have one now, unfortunately, but my dogs are everything to me. So I'm in this pet shop, and I have put my hands in my pocket, and I had just met somebody. So I had ended the old relationship, and I had now got into a new relationship with Lindsay, who I'm now happily married to. And I'm standing in this pet shop, and I realized that I could not afford the dog food. There Lindsay was going, oh, this is a really good dog food. It's really healthy, some fancy dog food, right? I always just got the cheap stuff in the shop. And I stood there with my hands in my pocket, and I was squeezing so tight because I was hurting. It was like the biggest moment in my life where I went, hold on a minute. You're a clinical nurse specialist, band 7, working in the trust. You've done everything people have told you to do, and you cannot afford the dog food. Wake up time. And I lifted out my hand and I opened it because I noticed that I was squeezing coins, and I had £4.20 in my pocket. I knew there was nothing in the bank account. You see, I lived life living month to month. I'm not saying that I was homeless. I'm not saying that I couldn't put food on the table. I'm saying I was very much like an average person right now in the world that we live in, that I was living month to month. In fact, I was doing extra shifts in the hospital. I was doing overtime. I was doing all the hours that I could possibly work to earn more money. But the weirdest thing kept happening. No matter how many shifts I did, at the end of every month, I was broke. Now, can you resonate with that? Maybe you're working harder. Maybe you're doing more. Maybe you're trading more time. And at the end of every month, you're in the same situation. Let me know yes in the comments box if that resonates with you. If that, and even if you have a business, maybe you're pumping in more money to advertising. Maybe you're employing more staff, putting more money into machinery or equipment, and you're putting more into strategy. And the bottom line doesn't really shift very much. Type yes if any of this resonates. Well, that's where I was. And at that moment in that pet shop, I said, enough is enough. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired, because I was always tired and I was always sick. Now again, how many times do you waking up every day after sleep and say, I'm so tired? How often do you get sick, catch a cold, or become unwell? Just look at the world today. Sickness rates are up, death rates are up, suicide is up, everything is up. And we've got to stop and we've got to ask ourselves, what is going on? Because we're living in a time where we've got more information. We've got mobile phones that can do pretty much anything. But you just look at the world today, it's falling apart. Now, I don't want to scare you, and I'm not here to talk about world issues. But the world issue is, and this is the second greatest lesson that Bob taught me, was there's only one problem in the world. And that one problem is ignorance. Ignorance means you don't understand how results happen. When you have ignorance, you become fearful. And we definitely live in a world that is fear-based. We root people by fear. You maybe have fears in your life, fears to step out on your goal, fears to grow an aspect of your business, fear to start a business, fear to leave your job, fear to leave your partner, fear to be you. And all these fears hold us totally captive in a mental prison that we don't realize we're in. And this is where I was at. So in that moment, I made a decision. I will never be broke again. I am done with this. I am making a change. Now, to make a change brings in fear. What if it doesn't work? What will people say? What will my parents think? All these things come in straight away. As soon as you start to think about change, boom, all the reasons why you shouldn't flood in. Am I right or am I wrong? And what happens is most people are so held by fear that they never change, they never move. And the ironic thing about it is you will keep getting what you've always got if you keep doing what you've always done. But I had it at that point. I was done. I'd already spent a couple of months watching all of the YouTube clips, going to all the free events, thinking, well, if I turn up to these free things, I'm going to get rich results. No, you can't be cheap and get rich results. And these were the lessons I was starting to learn. Now, I hadn't joined Bob at this stage, but in that moment I made the decision, I'm going to get Bob Proctor as my mentor. And I'm going to study with Bob Proctor. And I'm going to be his #1 global consultant. Now, I'm standing in a pet shop in Belfast, Northern Ireland. And that was a big statement to make. But I meant it. I made a committed decision there and then. Now, that's another great lesson for you. When are you going to draw the line? When are you going to make a decision that more of the same is only ever going to make more of the same, and you've got to decide to change? One of the greatest quotes that Bob said was, change is inevitable. Personal growth is a choice. And that's where I was at in my life. I knew if I kept doing what I was doing, I was just going to keep getting more of the same. So I went into work the next day and I'm in my office and I'm kind of seeing the world a wee bit differently now. And I already knew in my heart I'd made the decision. I didn't know how I was going to do it. How on earth am I going to get in contact with Bob Proctor? Who am I to think that I could be the #1 student and teacher in the whole world? Like, this was crazy talk. But I wanted it. And even though I had no idea how, and even though I had all the fears of what will they say and what will they think, I made a decision I was going to go and talk to somebody about getting Bob as a mentor. Now, when I went into my work, I could see people that were in the office next to me who'd been in my work, in my same level, and they were a lot older than me. I was 28, and they were a lot older, and they were unhappy, and they were broke. And I was just going round in a circle. So I knew something's got to change. Now, this is then when I started to realize, and Bob had shared this in video clips, and I'll be sharing it with you, that our reality, because a lot of people say, yeah, but the reality is, Kim. Well, the reality is a product of your thinking. You see, what made Bob Proctor so different was he didn't fluff it up. He didn't sugarcoat it. He said it as it was, and he said that there is an exact science to creating the life that you want, because your thoughts are becoming your reality. Thoughts become things. You become what you think about. All science, all theology have agreed that we become what we think about. I'd never heard of this. And I just remember I was a mental health nurse. I should have known this stuff. I was working with people who were depressed, anxious, all the things that we know go on in mental health. And I was never once really looking at the root cause. I was treating symptoms. I was handing out tablets. I was handing out exercises. But I was not getting to the root cause of these symptoms. And then I realized I am no different. My results in life are not good. I'm mentally broke, physically broke, financially broke. They're my symptoms. I'm not earning the money that I want to earn. I don't have the time to do the things that I want to do. I'm not living in the ideal dream home. I'm not driving the car I've always wanted to drive. I'm not traveling the world. I don't have thriving relationships with my family, my friends, or my partner. My results are bad. So it was at that point then I started to learn from Bob that our results are a direct reflection of how we think. Now, I will be honest, when I first heard that, I went, no, that can't be. I'm not going to start and do affirmations and all that woohoo stuff. I really didn't believe it. I didn't get it. But what I did understand was that my way wasn't working. So I had to try something different. So I made the decision there and then, I'm going to work with Bob. Now, when I got on the phone and I started to investigate in investing in myself and mentorship, it scared the life out of me for a couple of reasons. Number one, they were asking me questions like, what do you want? I had never thought about it. Do you know, at 28 years old, I had never thought about goals. And that was then one of the other lessons that Bob taught me was 97% of the population do not know what they want and are not thinking about goals. And yet we are goal-oriented beings. Do you know, some people's goal is just to get through the day. I want your goal to be, what can I get from the day? I want your goal to be helping you grow as an individual. I was just living the same day over and over, the same year over and over. And I would say a lot of people watching me right now are feeling the same. I was so stuck that I didn't even know I was stuck because everyone else around me was stuck, that it now became normal. Well, I want to be the one to tell you that you are absolutely capable of more, that there is greatness within you, that you have deep reservoirs of talent and ability that are bursting to come to the surface. And more than likely, you know that, you feel that, but you're maybe afraid. You maybe don't know how. And this is where a lot of people then just stay stuck because it's easier, it's more comfortable, it's more familiar. But you got to ask yourself, is it really okay to stay where you are? Is it really comfortable where you are? They call it a comfort zone, but I don't see anybody feeling comfy. So why not, just like what I did, ask yourself, but what if? I think one great question that Bob asked me one time was, what if it was impossible to feel? What if you had all the talent, all the ability, all the resources, all the money? What would you really want to do? If you couldn't feel and you had everything that you needed to do, what would you be doing? How would you be spending your days? Would you be doing what you're doing right now? I guarantee you most people would be doing something different. And that was one of the biggest lessons and shifts, was that one question. What do I want? What do I really want? Bob used to shout that. And I'd never thought of it. Now there I am on a phone call, thinking about investing in myself, thinking about getting a mentor. And I'm sitting with £4.20 in my pocket. So this was ludicrous. But I booked a call anyway. And the more I started to think about what I wanted, the more I started to really go, yeah, I would love a life of freedom. I would love to spend my days as I would love them to be. I would love to have time to go places. You know, I was so used with having, so many days off in a year, planning your annual leave, going on one holiday a year, etc., etc. That is no way to live. Now that might be the norm for you, and you might already be going, oh yeah, well that's easy for you to say. But it didn't used to be easy. But it is possible. And if I can do it, you can do it. The amount of times I heard Bob Proctor say that, if I can do it, you can do it. Sometimes people argue with me and go, yeah. And I go, but why are you even arguing? Wouldn't you like to believe that? It's so interesting how we almost instantly defend and reject. You got to ask yourself, why would you want to reject that? You see, it's not really you that's rejecting it. It's your mental program. It's the old ways of thinking. You're coming from a place of limitation and lack. And what I'm here to tell you, and what Bob did for me, is it is possible. If you can see it in your mind, you absolutely can hold it in your hand. In fact, that's what my logo is on my business. That vibration is Bob's voice saying, if I can hold it in my mind, I can hold it in my hand. See, this is where it all started. A goal card. Yes, I got on that call. Yes, I had no idea how I was going to do this, but I made a committed decision. I was going to work with Bob Proctor. I wanted him to teach me everything he knew. Because one of his famous lines were, if you just do exactly what I tell you to do, you can have anything you want. I can still hear his voice as I even say that. If you do exactly what I tell you to do, you can have anything that you want. And even though that sounded absolutely ludicrous in the beginning, it sounded like what I used to call American woohoo motivational stuff. Something about it sounded good. And I'm so grateful that the skepticism, the doubt, the ignorance, I somehow shifted that and went, ooh, that sounds good. And to be honest, I probably just was fantasizing, just playing with the idea, but that's how it starts. And I made a decision, yeah, I want you to teach me. Because Bob said, never listen to anyone else's opinion or advice unless they have results that you want. That was a great lesson that Bob taught me. You see, everyone will give you opinions. Everybody will tell you why you shouldn't do it. But you've got to ask yourself, do these people that are just very willingly telling you, stay where you are, be comfortable, take the safe approach, are they happy? Are they living life the way they want to live? Do you want their results? And if you do not listen to them. Do not listen to other people's opinions if they are not living the life that you want, because they're speaking from their limitations. Now that was a tough one for me to take on board at the time, because my parents, very old school, do not leave the government job. Every time I went home for Sunday dinner, I would try to bring up the conversation of possibly leaving nursing, and no, stay with the good government job. Do not be silly. There is security in a job. And I'm going, no, Bob says security is an inside job. And anytime I would bring up these conversations, I was shut down. So I stopped bringing up the conversation and I started to make decisions by myself. And I decided I'm going to quit nursing. Now, that's pretty crazy when you have no money and you have a job that pays you and you've got bills and all different things to pay. I decided, no, I'm going to quit my nursing career. Now, side note, I am not saying for you to just go ahead and quit your job. I can absolutely help you leave where you're at and build what you want, but I'm not saying just go hand in your notice tomorrow, okay? I did, so I can only tell you the truth of what I did. And I quit my job. I walked into nursing the next day. I had a calendar on my wall. This is how I did it. I closed my eyes, I put my finger out, and I said, okay, what's the date I'm leaving? And it landed on the 11th of November, which I find interesting because it's 11/11. And that was when I was leaving. Now I have to give 3 months notice as a nurse in the position I was in. So now I've made the decision, I'm leaving. Now I'm going around telling everybody in my unit, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go create a company with Bob Proctor. I'm going to earn millions. I'm going to impact people all over the world. I'm going to do all of these things. I'm going to buy my dream home. I'm going to travel. I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy my dream car. I really want a Ferrari 488 Spider. I sounded like I needed locked up. Like I would love to be able to go back and see me at that point, because the week prior I'm crying in work at lunch break saying how miserable my life is, and now I'm coming in and saying I'm going to change the world. So I don't really blame people thinking I looked and sounded a little bit crazy, but I wasn't. I had just said yes to me. And there's something about when you say yes to you, even though nothing's changed, everything's changed. You find this new lease of life. You feel hopeful for the first time. And that's such a beautiful thing. So I quit my job, 3 months to go, but I also have to pay to be mentored. And that was another great lesson. See, I was turning up to all the free stuff, trying to get rich results. And what Bob was very clearly saying is, the only thing that you should be investing in is you, because you are what creates your results. You start to invest in your mind, then everything changes. Another great thing he shared with me is all success in life comes down to 95% mindset, 5% strategy. That was a big one. Because I've been working in a world where it's 95% strategy, 5% mindset. What about you? Do you work on 95% mindset, 5% strategy, or is it the other way around? Really think about that. And even if you've been a student of this material for a long time, check in with yourself. This last week, this last month, this last quarter, did you spend more time on the thinking, which is the cause of the effects and the results, or were you busy working on strategies and planning and doing? Because we have forgotten that we're human beings, not human doings. This is without a doubt why people are tired and sick and confused and stressed and all the rest of it, because we are trying to do to get more. And we've got it all wrong. You've got to be more. Then you can do more. Then you will have more. And then you can give more. See, I had found myself, even though I was nursing, I realized I couldn't give what I hadn't got. I realized that I wasn't really being the best nurse. So really I had to leave because I didn't feel the integrity of staying, because I wasn't happy and I didn't really know how to really change things at a root level. Now I was starting to realize there was more depth to us, to our mind. And I was fascinated by it. So I needed money. I understood I needed to invest to make change. So I sold my car. Now my car wasn't a very fancy car, but it got me from A to B, and I kind of needed that. And it was the only valuable thing that I had. So I decided I'm going to sell my car. I got about £4,000 for it. And I remember, and I have a picture of the 4,000 because I remember taking a picture of this money going, wow, I've never had this much money in front of me. And I remember kind of that moment before I was about to invest, and I kind of went, I mean, I could so use this on my bills. I could use this could keep me going. And I had all the reasons of why I shouldn't invest it in me. Then I said to myself, okay, well, that's true. I could put it on this bill. I could set it aside here. I could do this. But how am I going to pay next month's bills? And how am I going to do that? Because at the end of the day, when the money's gone, the money's gone. And that was a great lesson, again, that Bob taught me. I needed to invest what I had in something that was going to give me a greater return. Now, I had no proof that I was going to get a greater return, but I believed in what Bob was sharing. And I think belief is the cornerstone to all success. You'll hear it everywhere that you go. It is the belief. And I decided I'm going to believe in me. I'm going to go all in on this. And if it fails, it fails. But I want to make sure that I get to the end of my life and I know that I've tried. So I invested. Now, to go and work with Bob Proctor was about 20,000. I did not have 20,000. I'd never had 20,000. This 4,000 looked like a lot, but I put it down as a deposit and I said, okay, you teach me. You're telling me that there's a science to success, that you can teach me how to rethink, that I can create my dreams, my goals, that I can attract money. Okay, prove it. So I decided to invest and I went all in. I put the money in. I still had to pay my monthlies and I'm always going to pay my bills. I'm never going to not do that. But I really went out on a limb on me. And as I started to train with Bob, I was a nobody, right? I went over to Canada and I hid at the back of the room because I was going to this big business conference. And I was sitting in the back of this conference, and this brings me on to my third lesson. So the first lesson was there's a science that all thoughts become things. The second lesson was that I started to think about what I want and look at goals, and we'll come back to that. But here came the third and probably the biggest lesson. So I flew over to Canada, and again, I didn't know how I was going to afford the flight. I got the Euro coach down to Dublin. I got on the flight, I flew over, and I was terrified. I didn't want to look at anybody. In fact, if you've ever heard Bob speak about me, he said, I wouldn't have bet $5 on you. You wouldn't look at us. You wouldn't make eye contact. My self-esteem was deplorable. I sat at the back of the room, and I was hiding behind my hair. I was like, don't look at anybody, don't look at anybody. And Bob got up and spoke, and of course I'm like, oh my goodness, there he is on stage. And he said one quote that I will never forget. He says, if I want to be free, I've got to be me. Not the me that you think I should be, not the me that, my colleagues or my parents think I should be, but if I want to be free, I've got to be me. So I better know who me is. When I heard that, tears streamed down my face. In fact, I remember I was crying. When you're in one of those emotional states where you just can't even breathe. I felt like I was being suffocated. I couldn't unhear it. And I realized I do not know who me is. And that's why I opened this session asking you that question. If you're not your name, if you're not your title, who are you? And that was a pivotal moment in my life. The emotion, and if you can feel emotion right now, that's the evidence that there's something going on within you. And I was in tears. I had no idea who I was. If you'd asked me, I'd have just said, well, I'm just Kim. And I'm not really that great, and I don't really like myself. I was horrible to me. But I felt this emotion. And then Bob started to explain a concept around self-image. He started it, and I'm not going to teach you it all here now. If you want to learn about it, you can certainly come and learn with me. But he started to teach me that there was nothing wrong with me. I was hearing for the first time from really a complete stranger, you're perfect in every way. You're not broken. You're not a failure. You're more than good enough. And this was really the first time I'd ever heard those words. Now, I remember sitting there, and I didn't look up. I just listened. And I think initially I felt angry because I felt that's not true. Because my programming, my inner dialogue was, no, you are awful. You're not worthy. And I was kind of getting, gritting my teeth. But he wouldn't give up. He just kept saying it. He says, so many people feel this way. Some show it, some don't show it. So many people think they're not good enough. So many people think, well, if they can do it, it's good enough for them. And he knew this because this once happened to Bob. He used to think other people could do and speak on stage and do things, and that he couldn't. And then he realized, well, if I think that way, then that's how it will be. So what if I was to change my thinking? What if I was to start to change my thinking about me? You see, my results were so bad because my thinking was so bad. My results were so poor because my thinking was poor. My results were limited because my thinking was limited. And you see, then I started to connect the dots and go, this makes sense. I don't love me. Other people don't love me. I don't think I'm worthy, so I'm not worth much. This is starting to make sense. And I started to realize it's actually nothing to do with jobs and skills and education. It's to do with how I think. It's to do with how I think about me and what I believe about me, what I believe about the world, what I believe about money. I was always brought up to be taught that money's the root of all evil. So, of course, I never had that much money because I thought it was evil. The light bulbs that were going off in my mind was unbelievable. So, of course, at this point, I'm going, I need to change the way I think about me. Then he started saying, we are all spiritually perfect because we are spiritual beings. Now, I won't lie, when he started to talk about spirit, I started to go, uh-oh. I'm not sure I want to talk about this. I was brought up in a Christian home. I was brought up to believe in God, and he's talking about spiritual stuff. Ooh. And I will be honest, it kind of freaked me out in the beginning. But here's the thing, and here's where I'm going to be really honest and truthful with you. I was brought up in a beautiful Christian home, but I also really didn't fit in there either. Because I knew I was making life choices that weren't completely in harmony with the religion that I was in. I don't really see myself as a religious person now, but I absolutely 100,000,000% believe in God. I'm a spiritual person. I don't go by man-made rules. I go to the source. And I believe that we are all God's highest forms of creation. So this is not me being religious, and please don't think that I'm going to start preaching at you. I'm not. But I'm saying there's something more to you than just your body. There's something more to you than just your name. And I think fundamentally we all know that. We all have a soul. We all have an energy. That's a spirit. It's energy. If you want to just call it energy, just call it energy. Instead of saying God, you can say universe. If universe weirds you out, just call it energy. Whatever you want to call it. See, the thing is, and what's went wrong in the world is, we have all these perceptions. We have all these labels. But the truth is, there is one universal life force energy. It's what grows the trees. It's what makes everything move. It's what's keeping your heart beating. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, how are these things happening? How does the plants grow? Okay, because I'm not going into the ground and manufacturing something, but they grow. Even the plants that you don't want to grow keep growing. How does your heart keep beating? What is the energy? There's one life force energy. I didn't know any of this. And it's always working in our favor. But what happens is we grow into a world full of perceptions, full of expectations, limitations. We're told you can do this, but you can't do that. And we start to build what we call a self-image, basically based on everybody else's perceptions and thoughts. We don't think for ourselves because we're not taught how to think. So this is what was going on in my life. I'm sitting in this seminar going, wow. So actually fundamentally below, at a deep level, at a subconscious level, this man's telling me that I'm good. And I could feel a resonance with that, because even though people in my community, even though people in my family were saying I wasn't so good, that never really made sense to me because I'm not a bad person. But I used to listen to those things, so I thought I wasn't good. So I acted from a not good place, getting not good results, until Bob Proctor started to tell me, Kim, you're perfect underneath it all. And there is a perfection within you that is wanting to express itself to and through you. And then that started to make sense, because then I thought back to the time when I was sitting in the office looking out the window and I could feel something wanting more. And of course then I'm going, no, more's bad. And I was trying to push this essence of life away. I got sick and all those things that I told you. Now I know that you're feeling the same. I know that deep down, whether you're going to admit it to me or to yourself, I know for a fact there is something within you that is wanting more. I'm not talking about getting stuff. See, this was a great thing about Bob Proctor. Yes, he taught me how to achieve goals. Yes, he taught me to have a goal card and write on it what I want. Yes, he taught me how to attract money and live in my dream home and my house and my car. And I have everything, things you wouldn't even know exist. But the big lesson on goals is that they're not to get. The purpose of a goal is to grow. Yes, I have wonderful things in my life, but I didn't want those things to get it. I achieved those things because I grew into the person that has those things. I became a bigger version of me, but this me was always here, but it was just hidden under all of these negative, limiting beliefs and thoughts. And of course, that was the next lesson. Bob taught me about paradigms. Paradigms is just a fancy word. It's like a lens in which you view the world. It's beliefs and it's habits. I was brought up with beliefs, some good, some not so good. I was brought up with installed habits, some good, some not so good. You see, we are habitual creatures. We all have beliefs, but our beliefs are not always belonging to you. And this was the big aha moment. You see, when you're a baby and you were conceived, a little bit of mom and a little bit of dad came together and you were genetically programmed and created. Then when you popped out into this world, you were environmentally programmed. So whatever the people around you, whatever you were subjected to, whether it's TV, whether it was the people in your home, whatever you heard started to build your paradigm, started to build this mental programming. So if you were taught growing up, you can't do that, and how are we going to pay for that, and there's not enough money, if you heard a lot of lack and limitation, you're going to have a lot of lack and limitation in your life. If you were brought up in a home where you can do anything, then you're going to turn out differently. So you see, environmental programming starts to create your programming as you're growing up. And then you grow up and you're never taught that you have the programming, and you're never taught that you can change the programming, so you end up just living out the programming. Now this, I hope, is like ding, ding, ding in your mind right now. This is not just Bob Proctor's opinion. This is not just something I'm telling you. This is absolute scientific fact. You just look at any home. If there's a home of mom and dad's a doctor, the kids become doctors or academic in some way. If you're brought up in a home on benefits, you can be sure you're going to be on benefits. See, we've cultural paradigms. We've got paradigms in workplaces. We all have a paradigm. It's the lens in which you view the world. Now, to make it really simple, you can either have a fixed mindset, lack, limitation, and that's the person that sees the glass half empty. Or you can have a lens of abundance, growth, prosperity, possibility. That's the glass half full. These are two different types of mindsets. And what is controlling your mindset is your paradigm, is your habits and your beliefs. And if you do not know how to reevaluate your habits and beliefs, you will keep operating from them. And this was one of the other big lessons. You cannot outwork it. You cannot change it from the outside. So many people try. So many people will watch this and go, right, I have the answer, I'm going to go and do that. But you won't, because you're not in the habit of it. I see this all the time. People trying to get information, and what I'm trying to say to you is, you already have all the information. School has trained us to get more pieces of paper, become smarter, get. Ugh. So much so that we're confused. How many people do you know have business degrees, have education, have all the pieces of paper, but they're still not earning the money they want to earn, they're still not living the way they want to live, they still don't have time to spend with their family? That's not living. And then you know someone who has no education, no pieces of paper, and they're living a really great life. This is what really captivated me, because I've seen this. Any successful person that you even research, they've usually had no education and they went through really hard times. And this is why I want to inspire people like you. I don't want to motivate you, I want to inspire you. Inspire means in spirit. You already have enough within you, you're just not aware of it. And that, you couldn't even rate the lessons of priority that Bob taught me, but that was a big one. Awareness is the key to freedom. See, if you're not aware that you have a mindset, if you're not aware that you have a mental programming that you're operating out of, if you're not aware that this mental programming is dictating 96 to 98% of all of your results in life. See, you've got beliefs around money. And whatever those beliefs are, that's what's going to show up in your bank account. You know, your mind controls how much money that you earn and have and keep. Like, that's not what I thought. I thought you get a job, you work hard, you get paid. No, that's not how money works. I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't aware of what money was. My goodness, and I don't have time to teach you it in this masterclass, but when Bob taught me about money, I went from having £4.20 and I've now done sales just under 20 million. I can't be making that up. I'm normal. I'm very ordinary. I'm very down to earth. I still live in Northern Ireland. You know, I'm a pretty ordinary person, but I live the most extraordinary life. And I do not hide it. And I am not ashamed of it. I am so proud of it because I've earned it. Nobody's given me anything. I've never got any loans. I've never taken out money from anything. Everything that I have has been created by my thoughts, learning how to use my mind, learning how to create success habits, being disciplined, implementation, action. Bob taught me the thinking process. He taught me how to become aware. And there's only one way to grow your awareness, and that's studying what I'm teaching you right now. It's not in a book. It's not anywhere outside of you. You already have it. You just don't know about it. You know, you've got 6 mental muscles or tools that if you learnt even what they were and how to use them, your whole life would change in a very short space of time. Like, I'm talking about a matter of weeks. We have people that come in to work with us, and in a matter of even less than 21 days, the shifts that they're having. Then people go, okay, that was good. Now, let me actually work with you, Kim. Let me work with you for 90 days, or let me come into mentorship and work with you for a year. And people are quadrupling, multiplying their life and their income, not adding, definitely not subtracting, they're multiplying. And I'm not sitting here teaching about strategies in income and strategies in business. Sometimes people go, oh, this is if you're in business. No, it doesn't matter if you're in business or not in business, if it's for health, relationships, wealth, whatever. If you want more, if you are, and even forget about wanting more, if you just are so curious of what this feeling of potential that has been poking you for so long is all about, then wouldn't that be worth it? Oh, I'm so grateful every day that I decided to invest in me and get a mentor and do exactly that they told me. And I never did what people told me to do. I would always do the opposite because I was in the habit of not doing what I was told. Or I was in the habit of not doing what I already know how to do. Like, let me know right now, do you already know how to do better? Put a yes or a no in the chat box. Do you already know how to do 1% better in your life? Whether it's in your relationship, whether it's with your kids, whether it's in your health, whether it's in your business or your goals or your employment. Do you know Like, no, could you tell me some things right now? Yes, I could exercise more. I could spend more quality time with my kids. I could shut down the computer earlier. Like, you know how to do better, yeah? So if you know, why are you not doing it? You don't know, but you know how to do better, but you don't do what you know how to do, and you don't know what you don't know. This is called a knowing doing gap. This is another huge lesson which catapult my productivity, my profit, my success, my well-being, my relationships. You see, if you're not in the habit of doing the things that you know how to do, then you'll just end up being that person going, oh, I know I should have done that. And people will go, well, so why didn't you do it? I don't know. And you stay stuck. If you run a company or a business, it's costing millions because every single employee, every single team member has a paradigm. And you send them off to do more training and you invest in more strategies, but the people will just do what they know how to do. This is the biggest problem in life today. Knowing is on a conscious level. That controls 2 to 4% of what you actually do. Doing comes from a subconscious part of your mind. That controls 96 to 98% of everything that you do. So as you can see, which is going to win, the 2 to 4% or the 96 to 98? The 96 to 98. That's in your subconscious mind. That's your paradigm. And if you don't know how to change that, you're not going to outwork it. I don't care how you could argue with me, black and blue. Nothing's going to change. I could come back to you in 6 months' time, a year's time, nothing will have changed. You'll have worked harder, maybe. You'll have less time, maybe. But you won't have anything more to show for it. And you certainly won't be feeling any happier because you have not got to the root cause. That changed everything for me. My productivity went up. I no longer procrastinated. Procrastination is killing people's dreams and goals and profit. We think about doing it. I'm going to do that when. We have all these limiting beliefs that just come in and say why you shouldn't. Or you know you've got something to work on, but the next thing you know, you're in the fridge, you're doing something else, and you shuffle it about your table. And you know how to do it, and you know it needs done, but it's like almost like you're compelled, like there's a bungee cord at your back, and every time you go to step out, it just pulls you. Again, does this resonate? Put it in the chat box. Yes, if you're resonating with this. How would I know this about you if it wasn't true? So you gotta really think about it. This is how I always sat with Bob and listened to him and went, yeah, that's totally accurate. So this can't be fake. This is how every human being operates. We have a potential, we have greatness within us, and then we have a paradigm. And it's like a mental program, and it's like virus code. I have a beautiful Apple Mac here. If I put Windows 95 programming in the Mac, is the Mac gonna work? No, because it's nothing to do with the hardware, it's got to do with the software. Your software is your mindset. Your hardware is your body. And it's your mind that controls the behaviors and actions that your body take. So if you're not doing something that you know you want to do, that you want to do, that you know would change your life, it's because of the mental programming. So you cannot think to yourself that you're going to go out and override the programming. You're not. You just will not, and you'll end up actually putting more energy and more time in, and you'll be more exhausted. You're going to come out with the same results. So the number one thing that we must do, and I am telling you because I care enough to be honest with you, you have got to work on you. Bob always said, You're your greatest problem and you are your greatest solution. Nothing will change until you change the root cause of results, the programming in the subconscious mind. And that sounds great, and you might think, right, I'm a way off to do that. How are you going to do it? Do you know how to do it? Because this, again, I don't know why people, I genuinely don't know why people do it, because I didn't do it, and I can't think anything different to me. But the way I thought about it was, yes, I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. Yes, I don't know how I'm going to do it. But if I try to work it out myself, it's going to cost me way more. It's going to take me way longer, and I'm probably not going to do it. So what I seen, and that's what helped me make the decision, because I was scared. I didn't know if this was going to work. I didn't have any evidence that this was going to work. I am selling my car. I am quitting my job. I am going against everything my family says, everything my friends say. I am going all in, and this is actually totally illogical and crazy. And then Bob always says, do the illogical. Do what everyone else won't do. Because that's the common denominator of success. Successful people will do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Because I knew if I do it on my own, it's going to take me longer, it's going to cost more, and I probably won't get there. Whereas I can take this chance on me, and I can invest in me. I didn't invest in Bob Proctor, I invested in me. And Bob Proctor showed me a pathway, a process that was time tested and proven since the beginning of time. You see, what we teach is not somebody's ideas. This is what I love about it. This is why I chose Bob Proctor as my mentor, because he wasn't teaching me something that he thought worked. He was teaching me universal life principles, spiritual principles that have been around since the beginning of time. And I would rather count on them than a man's opinion. I would rather work with the same laws that are operating with nature. And that's what we deal with. We teach the laws. When you start to learn what your mind is, how it operates, how you function, how you start to rewire, how you start to use your mind to create, to expand, this potential comes alive. Like, I even know as you're sitting listening to me right now, you can feel it. What if you could? Like, that was all I ever kept saying is, if they can do it, I can do it. And if somebody shows me a pathway and gives me a formula to follow, then I'm not going to doubt, am I doing it right? Because that's what I used to do. I would try to do it on my own, and then I'd go, oh, I don't know if I'm getting it right. And as soon as you doubt, even if you're doing it right and you doubt, you've scuppered your chances. I wanted somebody that I could check in with, that I could get feedback with, that I could follow a proven method. Then I would know, okay, this is on me. I wanted to be accountable. I wanted to be around people that were doing this so that I could chat to them, that I could communicate with people. Because everyone that I had in my life didn't have goals, wasn't thinking about big ideas, was talking about other people, and was complaining and moaning. Now you know I'm right. You go into any staff room in any company, they're complaining or they're watching TV and it's negative stuff. I don't watch the news, I don't read the paper, I don't hang around people that talk around small things or people. I am focused on my goals. That's why I'm able to create what I'm able to create now, because I am focused on a goal that is worthy of me. Bob said, whatever way you define success, whether it's in money, whether it's in things, whatever it may be, he says success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. You are by definition a successful person if you're moving in the direction of your goals. It's not about the amount of money in your bank account. It's not about the car that you drive or the area you live in. You are successful if you are waking up every day working on your goal. And your goal is worthy of you. Do you waking up every day moving closer to your goal? Or are you working every day on somebody else's agenda, somebody else's choice for how you live your life. Maybe the time has come that you make your own decisions. And that's probably my last and final lesson to you today. The power of a decision. The one mental move that you can make that will flip your mind onto a different frequency. I have not even scratched the surface on everything that I know that I could teach you. Like, not even remotely. I haven't talked about energy, I haven't talked about vibrations, frequencies, laws of the universe, higher mental faculties, money, law of compensation. Like, I know so much, and I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but it would be pointless in me giving it to you right now because you haven't yet made a decision that you're going to change your life. First thing that I did was I made a decision in that pet shop. And every goal since that I've achieved, and I did become Bob Proctor's #1 global consultant. I achieved awards that you can see up here behind me that nobody in the world has ever even come close to. Again, I'm not being ego driven here. I'm saying if I can do it, you can do it. I set out with goals that were so big that even Bob Proctor didn't think I was going to do it. And I did. Because I made a decision to do it. How many times have you said you're going to do something and you haven't done it? Have you ever actually stopped and said, did I actually make a committed decision? Or was I just interested in it? When you're committed, you will do what it takes. When you're interested, you'll do what's convenient. And when we do what's convenient, that usually means just do what you're programmed to do. And since your programming is not getting you the results that you want, that's where we get pulled back with a bungee cord again. I made a decision I was going to change. Bob always said nothing happens until a decision is made. You don't need to know where the money's going to come from. You don't even need to know how much things are. Do you know the amount of times people reach out to me and go, yeah, but how much is it? And I go, how much is what? Well, to work with you. Well, what do you need to know that for? You haven't decided if you want to work with me yet. And then people really look at me and go, yeah, but I need to know how much it is. No, you don't. You don't need to know how much something is until you've made a decision that you want to buy it. It's very simple when you really think about it. We're programmed to ask the price. We're even programmed not to ask the price and to think we can't afford it before we've even asked the price. That blows my mind. How many times have you maybe been on my courses and thought, no, I couldn't afford that? You don't even know. Do you see how much you're being limited? I never asked how much it was. I said, I'm going to do it. I don't know how, but I'm going to find a way. And all I can be honest with you tonight is until you start to get that mentality, you will not move into the life that you want. I did not know how. I did not have any money. I did not have the education that I thought I needed. I've never run a business. I was a nurse. And yet I now run multiple businesses. Like, this is where awareness comes from. I teach people how to create a goal. I teach people how to reverse engineer that. I teach people what their mind is, how to operate it. I do not tell you what to think, I teach you how to think. But it all starts with a decision. Nothing happens. Bob always said the only prerequisite to making a decision is to ask yourself, do I want it? The money, the how, the time always comes after the decision. When somebody asked maybe you to marry them and they were so in love and they said, will you marry me? You didn't stop and go, but how are we going to afford the flowers and the reception and the cars? You said yes. Why? Because you were in love. What is love? Level of vibrational energy. That's the energy I was talking about, that one force, that one thing. I want you to love yourself enough right now to say yes to you. And I don't even know what you're going to say yes to. It could be coming to work with me in some capacity. We have so many options that I'm not even going to try and sell you right now because I want to talk to you. I need to know from you. What I do know is that we have a place, a home that I believe you belong in. And that, of course, is the source. This is the last thing that I'm going to share with you. Back in 2018, I went for lunch with Bob, which I regularly did. And he had a query, he had a question. And I sat down with him and he said, Kim, I need your help with something. Okay. I felt pretty special in that moment. And I said, okay. He says, I'm going to ask you a question and I need your help to answer it. And he asked me the question. And I'm not going to tell you what the question was per se, but the general concept was, how can we build a new model that makes the old model obsolete? How can we serve? Because that's what Bob was obsessed with, serving people, helping people. How can we serve 100 million people in an easy, effortless way? Well, that's a really big question. But you know, from 2018 right to this day, I've been answering that question. And in my very last meeting with Bob, which was in November 2021, I got to go to his home and present him. And that was 2021. He asked me the question in 2018. I spent those years answering one question because I loved Bob more than anything in the world. He was not just a mentor. He was like a dad to me. He was like a best friend to me. He was my guide. He was my mentor, and he always will be. He's right here, right now. But when he asked me a question, I was committed to answer it. I actually built another company in those years answering that question, just so that I could give you, listening right now, the source. You see, Bob didn't know how to do it, but he knew I did. And when I got to go and show him my ideas, which was just on paper at the time, back in 2021, I showed him the source. Of course, the source is where you are right now. It's that one place that looks after all your personal and professional development needs. It is a home for homesick souls who know they want more, but don't know how to achieve it, who want to grow through the 7 levels of awareness, who are not willing to stick with the status quo, who want to mix with like-minded people, collaborate, network, engage, build relationships, friendships, somewhere that you can come in and study the real science of success, not other people's perceptions of it, not fluffy stuff. We don't even really talk about the law of attraction. That's a secondary law. Let's get to the primary law. The law of vibration. I teach the essence of what Bob taught. I teach how you can take science and spirit and put it together to create success. We connect all of the dots. And this is what we've created. It's now an app on your phone, because my goal is the same as Bob's goal, to impact 100 million people plus in this world, one thought at a time. And I am determined and I am committed to doing that. And I want to start with you. Why not come and join us in our Source membership? It is the most lowest and monthly cost. We have made this totally available to everyone in the whole world. You don't have to go sell your car. You don't have to go and quit your job. You could start right now by coming into our Source membership. And what you're going to get access to is not only the community. You don't need Facebook and Instagram and all these negative platforms. You need to come into somewhere that is growth orientated, that has your best interests at heart, that is taking you through a guided step-by-step process to how to move up these levels. Now, you may want to come in and have membership, which is our first level, Or you might want to come into mentorship, which is some of the higher levels, level 4, orbit and galaxy. That's all there for you. But the first thing you got to do is come home. Come into this place where you will be seen and you will be heard and you will be taken care of. Because that's my mission on this planet. If you need accountability, we'll give you accountability. If you want to make this fun, if you don't maybe even have a lot of time, great, because we've made this really easy to consume in a short amount of time, but to give you a huge impact. If you want to come and go through quarterly quests with me every quarter, so every 90 days, I come in and take you through a whole big teaching on some of the various topics. Whether that's money, I teach you the science of becoming rich. Like in extensive ways. I'll get my drawing board out. I will teach you about frequencies. I'll teach you about that part of the mind that controls the amount of money you earn. If you want to learn about goals, I'll teach you on that. We have quests every single quarter. Then we also have missions. This is where you can take on a mindset mission. You can be accountable. You can show up every day. Do it with a group of people or do it by yourself. But this is where you actually can have me in your phone, in your pocket, helping you every day. We can go take you through our daily dynamite. That's an audio message from me every morning when you're waking up. I'll teach you how to do gratitude. I'll teach you how to set intentions. Whether it is the quarterly quests, the monthly missions, we'll also get on a call with you every month. Check in with you. You see, we've lost the personal factor in this world that we live in, but not with us. What if you could have a call with one of my team every month to check in? How are you getting on your missions? Where are you at? Where are you going next? How can we help you? Where are the gaps we need to close? We provide that. All in our membership. It's absolutely incredible. If you even want to learn how to earn more money for yourself, we have got opportunities for you to do that. So you can learn and you can earn. And you can do it with a group of people that are focused on growth, that are there to support you. I think this is why Bob asked me that question. He knew the way the world was going. And I believe with all of my heart, we have answered that question. And I know Bob is so proud. I know that he's going through the missions. I know he's growing through the levels. And this is the beautiful thing. I never wanted to make something that wasn't accessible for all. So whether you're someone who has just a little bit, give a little bit. You are worth a very small monthly investment. You're probably paying it on Netflix or a Chinese at the weekend. What if you just invested it in you? Even if it was just at the first level. Or you might be sitting there going, no, I'm like you, Kim. Enough is enough. I am ready. I am willing. I want you to be my mentor. Well, great. I want to be your mentor. I definitely know how to help you. And we've got options for that too. Whether you want to start off work with me for 90 days intense, or you want to come in for the whole 1-year program. Whether you're starting out as a total beginner, setting up your goals for the first time, or whether you're somebody who is in a business and you want to scale and you want to get past that invisible ceiling that it feels like you just never get past. I work with everyone, and that's why we have 7 levels, because you are individual, you are different, and everyone has different needs. And I have designed this perfectly to fit where you're at. But we need to know where you're at, and that takes you to commit, and then we'll get a chat with you, and then we'll figure out a plan and we'll map that out with you. So I have been here a lot longer than I expected to, but I just feel so grateful and so privileged to have spent this time with you. I feel the energy in this call. I feel your energy in this call, and I know that you're no different to me and you want more, and we certainly have that for you. So this is the Bob Proctor Masterclass. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed my honesty, my lessons. Let me know in the chat box if you've enjoyed this session. Please make a decision tonight. Do not go off this mat. If you've felt anything, if you have resonated in any shape or form, please come and join us in the Source membership. Come to the inside. Try it for yourself and let us grow together, because it'll make it so much easier, so much more fun, because we have lots of fun stuff going on. And that's what it's all about. Life is fun. Life is a game, and I can show you how to play it. All right. Thank you for being here. You can click below